time. It's time. It's time. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time.
How the fuck you got me up this damn early, Jason?
It's time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Oh, hell yeah.
I like the hell yeah, Nick. Good job. Appreciate that. All right, so we had a busy week 3. Lots to react to last night. Had an interesting Monday night game. Was a little lopsided, unfortunately, but lots to talk about with that too. So let's get things started. Let's welcome to the studio, Nick. You got Flandered Macaronis.
Yes, I am in the studio. My name is Nick. You got Flandered Macaronis. And I hope my Phillies don't get flandered tonight by them Braves. And speaking of getting flandered, don't get flandered for Christmas. Don't be a Grinch. Go buy your one and only TSS t-shirt. Go to bonfire.com and in the search bar, type in TSS and you will see the most beautiful fantasy football t-shirt you could possibly get. Comes in shades of blue and gold.
Indeed. And I think we're going to add some long sleeves t-shirts in there as well. Shirts, I should say. Sorry. And maybe some hats too. So we're going to add some stuff to the store. Just want to throw that first campaign out there. So be on the lookout for some fall items there for you as well. Let's also welcome to the studio Dr. Jeffrey Miller.
Hey there, gentlemen. I'd like to throw out a suggestion for our Christmas line of TSS gear. Maybe we do a shirt, a long sleeve shirt that says, "Don't get flandered for Christmas."
Yeah, hey, I like that as well. I mean, Nick's got a lot of flandering on his mind tonight. That's for sure. All right, let's also real quick, as a reminder, we are the fantasy show of the people. And as such, we would like for you to interact with us on all our social media websites. Go to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever else I didn't mention, everything under the sun. We'll love your interactions. Send your lineup questions, trade questions. We'd love to interact with you there as well. So please don't hesitate to do so. Visit us at tssfantasy.com as well as Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. We are a proud member of that network. So check out all their great shows on there as well. Everything under the sun for all your sports fans. And if you're in your car or just hanging out in the garage, tune into Unhinged Radio. They're a 24/7 sports radio network with all types of different shows on there as well. Most of them from the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. You can check us out at 8 to 9 a.m. Make us part of your morning commute. We are the fantasy show of the people. All right, let's get things started. We have a busy show as we talked about tonight. And we got the doc in-house. So let's start things off with Dr. Miller's house call.
The doctor is in now.
Yeah, that plays well in the morning and at night. I love that.
And I've always wanted my own theme music. So this is great. This is my entry song. I love it.
Yeah, we're working on maybe, next year, we'll get some feelers out there and we'll get like something real specific for you.
Next year, that means contract extensions are coming up. I like that.
Right?
Yeah, we'll have the agents call soon.
Absolutely. So last week's show was the quarterback show, I feel like. This week's show is going to be the hamstring episode. We've got a lot of those to talk about this evening. So in advance of starting to talk about any individual player, I want to talk a little bit more about the hamstring anatomy and why we're seeing so many of these injuries early in the season. So early season hamstring strains, as we're seeing, are super common. And this isn't unique to the hamstring. This is the calf. This is the groin. And sometimes you'll hear some talking heads saying that it's due to ineffective off-season conditioning. But I want to change the word ineffective and say maybe incomplete off-season conditioning. It is really hard in the off-season to simulate game-like conditions. And so these guys are coming into the season maybe having not run quite so fast, cut quite so hard as they're doing in real-time games. So ineffective conditioning is leading to some of these, or incomplete conditioning leading to some of these injuries. And we're going to talk about 3 grades of hamstring injuries this evening. We've referenced these in previous shows, but for the new listeners, we've got grades 1, 2, and 3. And those are named in corresponding order of their severity. Grade 1 hamstring or any other muscle strain is going to be due to an overstretching or maybe some micro tearing of a small percentage of the fibers. These individuals are generally able to come back in 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks and return to previous form. A grade 2, you now have some partial tearing, and you'll see a minimum of 2 to 4 weeks, but realistically, this can take 6, 8, or even 12 weeks, 3 months to fully return to previous function. And then a grade 3, we're looking at no less than 6 weeks, but often these are going to be season ending with complete rupture of the muscle and or tendon involved. So a little bit of the anatomy of the hamstrings there and what we're dealing with for a number of our athletes tonight.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, just so you know, in the off season, Nick does not find it at all difficult to stimulate himself at all. All right, so let's start. We're talking about hamstrings. One of the biggest disappointments so far in the fantasy ranks has been A.J. Brown. And, I deemed Sunday as Get Right Sunday. For a lot of players, he was included. Unfortunately, he came off the field real early. So let's talk about A.J. Brown's injury.
So he came off the field in the first quarter. So you didn't earn a lot of points with him. I don't know how many exactly he had before leaving, but not a whole lot of points if he's leaving in the first quarter, and did not return. Now, he's currently listed as week to week, but I'm expecting him to miss week number 4. I would strongly encourage, if I was advising the team, to not be playing him through this soft tissue injury. This is what leads to them becoming chronic and recurrent. If they're back on the field too quick, it's what's going to aggravate it and turn that grade 1 into a grade 2. So I would feel confident saying he is unlikely to play week 4.
How about an update on Christian McCaffrey? Have you heard, since we're on the hamstring topic, I'll just go down the hamstring line, I guess, so to speak. So Christian McCaffrey, any update on his hamstring and his availability going forward?
So I think the fact that they're not placing him on the IR is an update in and of itself. And, they're saying maybe you're going to miss 3 or 4 weeks. And with the 3-0 record at this point, there doesn't seem to be any urgency to bring him back. But the fact that they're not putting him on the IR tells me this is probably a serious grade 1, but not into the grade 2 territory. Again, 3 to 4 games should give that grade 1 hamstring strain sufficient time for him to recover. Now, that is a little bit complicated by the fact that he had a calf cramp in week 2, and here we are with the hamstrings. So that does bring into question the completeness or the effectiveness of his offseason conditioning. The 1 injury, maybe a fluke, but 2 in just a couple of weeks starts to become a little bit concerning.
Well, I mean, listen, 3 to 4 games is concerning regardless because, you've spent either a number 1 or, a 2, 3, 4, a high pick for him. You're going to be out 3 to 4 games. Plus, I don't know when I'll have to look when their bye is, but that plus maybe possibly their bye. So that's 5 games out of the season now. You're out Christian McCaffrey. That's pretty big news in and of itself.
Thanks for rubbing that in. Out 5 weeks. Appreciate that.
Listen, we're in so many at this point. I think I have him in a couple somewhere. It's like whatever at this point. Sterling Shepard, so we'll just stay on the hamstrings. And also, both of them are on the same team, Darius Slayton as well. This is big news fantasy-wise because obviously this brings up the value of Kenny Golladay and Evan Ingram if you have them on your roster. But what have you heard? What is news out on them? How long may they be out for?
Yeah, I want to also add one more whose value may have really risen quickly. Kadarius Toney's supposed to get some more touches this week as well. So both Shepard and Slayton, 2 hamstring strains. Both of them likely grade 1 strains. But like I mentioned a moment ago, even with a grade 1, don't expect them to play this weekend. It's rushing these grade 1s back that causes them to recur and become chronic, and it's going to cost them more time over the course of the season than if they sit and rest. Realistically, both of these guys should miss a minimum of 1 to 2 weeks. Now, something to watch for. Watch for that grade 2 label. If either one of them or any of these other hamstring injuries receives that grade 2 label, that's going to put them out till November. So if we're just continuing to hear grade 1 or hamstring strain and they're not going on the IR, it's likely a grade 1. But that 2 comes with a prolonged absence, looking at a minimum of 6 weeks, if that becomes the case.
Did you see anything? I know Tyler Lockett came back into the game, with a knee. It seemed to what we heard was an MCL sprain. Are you hearing the same thing? And do you expect him to miss any time?
Yeah, so I watched this video, and his left foot was in contact with the ground while he was being tackled, and the knee buckled inward as the body came out with the foot on the ground. And I think he probably gets the award for luckiest man in football this weekend, because that mechanism of injury is almost always correlated with an MCL and or ACL rupture. So he's incredibly fortunate to have walked off the field and then later returned. Now, if you listen to him post-game, he mentioned that the time he spent down on the field was himself assessing his knee. He knew something happened. He was in a little bit of shock from it. Not medical shock, just kind of psychological shock that had happened, and self-assessed it. But the fact that he came back within that game is super encouraging. And if there was an MCL or ACL issue, he would not have. So super happy for him. He dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I talked about that, and I thought, well, maybe if he swelled up this week, that'd be pretty much the only way I could see him missing time if he was able to come back in after that happened. So, yeah, pretty amazing. I did see it myself and was like, I thought he was night, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty amazing. All right. So Juju, looked like he hurt some ribs, but they listed him as day-to-day, kind of the designation they gave Tua though right after. So it was a little one of those things where, hey, let's kind of wait and see. So what are your thoughts on Juju and what'd you find out?
Yeah, my show notes warned me to not go ahead and say what I said about Tua last week. So right now, he's day-to-day with a rib injury, bruise not broken. But I'm going to wait for Wednesday's report before we say anything else. If it's just a bruise, expect to see him. If there's a fracture, no way he's playing. If there's major cartilaginous damage, he's going to miss a couple of weeks.
Indeed. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't going to jump too far ahead of myself on that one. James White, he was carted off the field. Looks like it was a hip. I think it was, I read, a hip dislocation, more like kind of a Fitzy type injury. What'd you hear about him? And it looks like he's pretty much done for the season.
Yeah, you're not leaving me much to say, so I was going to highlight that it is, in fact, what Fitzpatrick walked off the field with. And I said a couple of weeks ago that Fitzpatrick is a tough dude to have walked off the field with this injury. And James White, like a mere mortal, had to be carted off. And I don't say that with judgment. I would have been carted off as well. Fitzy, one tough dude. But yes, hip subluxation or like you said, dislocation was the official word. I anticipate he's going to be put on the IR, and I expect a prolonged absence. And the word is potentially, but I'm going to say likely it's the end of his season.
All right, let's go to Giovanni Bernard. He had that late, just seemed like a stupid injury, unfortunate for him because he was having a great game. The guy had a knee injury. What did you hear about Gio, and is he going to miss any time?
Yeah, so Gio has an MCL sprain. MCL, one of the 4 major ligaments of the knee. It runs north-south on the inside, connecting the upper to lower leg bone. And he's listed as day-to-day. And so although it's not explicit, the day-to-day label implies it's a grade 1. So could he play? Yes, probably more likely to play with a grade 1 MCL sprain than a grade 1 hamstring strain. But I want to highlight that Nick Chubb missed a lot of time. I think he missed 6 games last season with a grade 2. So if you see this upgraded, or I guess downgraded, from a grade 1 to a grade 2 MCL sprain, he's going to end up going on the IR. As of today, though, his day-to-day status tells me it's a 1. They're not concerned it's going to even cause him to miss any meaningful time. But as I mentioned a moment ago, wait for that grade. If we see the grade 2, time to sit him.
That's very interesting. All right, so on the last one, I think Gronk looked like he was okay. It's not worth really talk about his ribs. Kind of the same situation. There, Justin Fields also the same thing. X-rays negative on his hand. Elijah Moore, however, with the concussion. What have you heard about that? And does he look like he's missing significant time with his concussion grade?
Yeah, I don't have anything unique to him. So, yes, like you said, diagnosed with a concussion, automatically put into the concussion protocol, which means minimum of 5 days. He needs to get through all 5 phases before he's back on the field. That would require really rapid progress through the phases. I haven't heard how he's doing. All brain injuries present differently. Brain recovery can be difficult to predict. So I think our best bet is to wait, see what Wednesday says, and then he may end up being a game time decision.
Awesome. All right. Well, Dr. Miller, we appreciate your time. TSS family. Yes. Hold on. Nick has a question for you.
Okay. Just one thing. The Panthers bye week is week 13.
Okay. Yeah. So it would be an extra week. Yes.
And Flandering is always in season.
That's true. You don't need an on or off season for Flandering. That, sir, I do agree with. All right, with all that being said, Dr. Miller, we appreciate your time. TSS family, you can catch Dr. Miller again on Sunday morning with Wake Up with TSS Fantasy. We will discuss the day ahead and what players may or may not play during that Sunday. So come check us out. Dr. Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
See you Sunday.
All right, guys, we'll be right back.
This is Freddie the Jester from TSS Fantasy. As you know, I am a jokester. And one of the things I'm serious about is the health of my car. When my car is not working properly, I take it to the auto clinic in St. Cloud, Florida. Anytime my brakes or AC needs to be repaired or I just need general maintenance, I take it directly to the auto clinic, where they take care of all my auto needs. They are a complete auto repair shop. If you need repairs done to your vehicle, the auto clinic is the place. It can be found at 1524 13th Street, St. Cloud, Florida, 34769. And you can call them at 407-892-8104 to schedule an appointment. You can trust the folks at Auto Clinic like you can trust I'm about to have another snack break.
Must be having a long snack break today. All right, let's start with the Monday night reaction in a game where your squad, let's got their ass whooped.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real about it. So final score, 41-21. Jalen Hurts, 326 yards. We'll start with him. 2 TDs, 2 picks. 35 yards on the ground. So does not matter if it's garbage time or not. Jalen Hurts had a great fantasy night regardless. Miles Sanders. Now this is where the Eagles' offensive game plan I don't know what they want to think. Two attempts, 2 carries. Listen. I can understand, like, if you're the Cowboys going against the Bucks, what they did, kind of did what they did, but this was not it at all because this didn't work. Goddard led the way in receiving yards with 66 on 4 targets. It was interesting, though, that Ertz not only got in the end zone, 53 yards, but had 7 targets. He led the team in targets that night. So very interesting thing to pick up on is, is that going to be the situation going forward? Is Ertz the guy that you want to have in your starting lineup? Jalen Reagor was the top receiver for them with 5 receptions for 53 yards. On the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott, 238 yards, 3 TDs. He looked flawless pretty much the entire night. Big night for Zeke. We talked about get right Sunday. It was get right Monday for Zeke. 95 yards, 2 TDs, and receiving 21 yards. So, good night for Zeke all the way around. Who it was a real good night for was Dalton Schultz. 6 receptions, 80 yards, 2 TDs on 7 targets. So, again, the tight ends led the way last night. CeeDee Lamb had a decent night, not targeted that much, but when he made for it. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 66 yards. Amari Cooper seemed to have calmed down to earth a little bit with 3 receptions, 26 yards on 4 targets. Nick, your thoughts on Monday night and the fantasy somewhat bonanza that took place?
There was not much of a bonanza. It was just game flow. I think, that old saying Mike Tyson has, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Well, the Eagles got punched in the mouth and then some. Obviously that was not their game plan. I didn't think they expect to only give the ball to Sanders twice. He's got to get more involved.
It's what propels the chips.
Yeah. So, question for you going forward is Miles Sanders droppable for you, or is he somebody you want to buy low on? What do you think about Miles Sanders?
No, I would try and engineer a trade, but I would just keep him stashed on the bench at least for 2 more weeks. If he doesn't do anything for 2 weeks, now they got Kansas City coming up. They got the worst defense in the NFL right now. You might want to give him one last shot, but I wouldn't. You're close. You're real close about getting him, about dropping him. I had higher hopes.
Get iPhone 13 Pro on us when you trade.
I had higher hopes for him this year, but I would 2 weeks at tops. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to get for him if you try to trade now, but he's not looking very good when you're only getting the ball 2 times in the game. Not like they really look for him in the air either. They did target him 3 times, but Kenneth Gainwell actually had just as many targets. So what can you say about the night for the running backs? And it was definitely a big get right for Zeke. For 95 yards, 2 TDs, he looked good. But again, Tony Pollard's still eating in those minutes. And again, they talked about it even on the game, during the broadcast. Tony Pollard and that offense does look pretty smooth when it goes in there. So it's interesting. It'll be an interesting dynamic going forward. But I definitely like Zeke going forward as well. All right, so let's go on to our new favorite segment. And you're the only one here, so I guess I can only reward you the points. I'll call it myself too. I'll surprise myself maybe. It's time for this
availability.
That's right. All right, it is time for this week's Champs or Chumps. Down. All right. Champs or Chumps? All right, we're going to bring up our fantasy leaders as on these ones, Nick, just so you know, because I know the other night you were questioning. I put these all on standard, so I'll go back and forth. But this is all standard scoring, although it doesn't matter with the quarterback. But we have Kyler Murray, number 1, 89.2. Tom Brady is 87.5 at number 2. Pat Mahomes at number 3. 83.2. Number 4, Jalen Hurts, 73.1. Lamar Jackson at number 5, 72.6. Kirk Cousins at number 6, 76.4. Josh Allen, 72.1. Matt Stafford, number 8 at 72. Derek Carr, 71.4. And Daniel Jones going in the top 10, 67.4. Nick, give me. I'm going to.
All right, I'm going to give you my chump. I'm going to have to go with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is my chump out of that top 10. He has come crashing down to earth because I guess when he has to stand there and throw the ball, he's not as effective as when he gets out on the run. So I'm going to call him my chump of the week. And then my champ of the week, I am going to go with Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray gets it done all the time. And then my co-champ has got to be Tom Brady.
Yeah, you know who's a champ for me, and I called it during the offseason, and I think he's going to be there in the top 10 when it's all said and done, is Jalen Hurts. And it's, again, because it's going back to the Eagles' defense. It just isn't that good. I thought it's starting to come out now how not good it is. So, again, garbage time doesn't matter. Jalen Hurts is still a good athlete, does great things. If the defense can't hold him, though, he's going to always be out there scoring points. So that show improved actually this past week. So I like Jalen Hurts a lot going forward. My chump of the group this week, looking at this top 10, I don't think Derek Carr is going to stay there at number 9. Derek Carr is playing great now, but Derek Carr ends up doing what Derek Carr normally does and starts to collapse and make mistakes, starts questioning himself. I think that's one of the guys in the NFL. I think he just kind of has a head issue, to be quite frank, and just makes silly mistakes when he doesn't need to. I think he will be the chump of our top 10 this week. All right, let's go on to our running backs. All right, the top 10 performers so far in fantasy. Derrick Henry at number 1. And again, if you listen to TSS family, I told you he was the guy to get 65.8 points. Number 2, Aaron Jones, 53.3. Nick Chubb, number 3 at 44.3. Ezekiel Elliott, 43.2. Christian McCaffrey at 42.4. Austin Eckler, 42.9. Number 7 is Kareem Hunt, 40.9. Number 8, Swift. I mean, wow. I didn't think he'd be up there, but he is, 40.9. Number 9, Chris Carson with 39 points, and Melvin Gordon, 38.9. So, Nick, what is your champ out of this group?
Well, surprisingly, I am going to go with my champ. I am going to go with Zeke this week because Zeke did come out. He had a redemption game, albeit against my Birds. It is what it is, but 95 yards and 2 touchdowns is not a bad night for you. So, I can't go with Henry because Henry, he's been consistent. He's been doing it the whole season long. So my champ is going to be this week, Ezekiel Elliott.
That must hurt. All right, what about a chump? What about a chump out of this group?
I would have to say number 8 is going to be my chump of the week, and that would be DeAndre. I can't get his name right. DeAndre Swift. I had a feeling about this guy. He had all hype in the preseason, and then as you can see, and you called it when Williams got signed, and he just ate into his carries, ate into his touches. You just see Swift slowly dropping down the ladder, and I think that's where it's going to go. I think he's going to fall out of the top 10. I think he'll be a top 15 back at the end of the season, but I don't think he's going to sustain his top 10 status.
My chump out of this group is definitely Melvin Gordon. Not to say that he is a chump, but I don't see him. They've had a very light schedule thus far. I don't see that going forward. I'm just not a big believer in their offense, to be quite frank. So I just see Melvin Gordon not sustaining that top 10 status. And my champ this week, listen, Nick Chubb. He's been, I don't know what else to say about Nick Chubb. He's been doing it this year and doing it well. And with Kareem Hunt, the guy spelling him, not too far behind him, 4 slots down in the ranking. So, that's pretty amazing to me. That whole Cleveland offense is pretty unique to say the least. All right, let's go on.
Baker.
No, they really don't. I mean, they could probably have, run the Wildcat the entire game, honestly, and they'd be just fine. With the athletes, and I don't know if he's caught any of that game, but just Kareem Hunt, he's just a different guy on the field. Like, he looks like the big high school player playing with the Pop Warner kids. Just being able to break tackles the way he does. It's just that to me is what's amazing about Kareem Hunt. That break.
Speaking of breaking tackles, on his touchdown run, I saw him, and as soon as he broke that one tackle, he started to get out there, and then he kind of had like a little jut. I was like, uh-oh, there goes his hamstring. But he made it. He was fine.
Yeah, no, indeed. All right, let's go on to receivers. We'll talk about number one, Koopa Kupp, 66.2 points. He's our number one guy in the house. Mike Williams, another big get in the draft so far, 55.5. Number three, Tyler Lockett, 48.9. Number four, Jamar Chase. Again, if you listen to TSS Fantasy, I told you a top 10 receiver Jamar Chase was going to be number four, 45.8 right now. Adam Thielen, 42.1. Chris Godwin at number 6, 40.3. Brandon Cooks, 38.7. Deebo Samuel, 38.2. Justin Jefferson, 37.8. And Devontae Adams, 36.9. Nick, who's your chump out of this group?
Out of this group, I'm going to say Justin Jefferson, because in that offense, what he did last year versus what he's doing this year, this week anyway, he didn't produce as much as I thought he was going to do. So he would be my chump of the week, and he's just got to get more looks. KJ Osborne was taking looks away from him, and so was their tight end. So that was Conklin. So I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson this week, as much as I hate to say it.
Interesting. All right, what about your champ?
My champ is going to be on pure toughness. It's going to be Tyler Lockett, due to his injury this week. Came out of the game, laid there, collected his thoughts, and said, "You know what? I'm going to gut this one out." All right, and he came back in the game, finished the game up with some solid points, some solid production, helping out Metcalf and Wilson and the boys. So I'm going to give it to Mr. Tyler Lockett.
Yeah. All right. So my chump out of this group is Deebo Samuel. Again, I just don't like, I just don't like the 49ers. I don't know what it is. I don't like their receivers. I don't like their running backs. Just as far as fantasy is concerned, it's just a pick and choose. He's had two good games. He didn't have a great one this third one, so I'm just not a big believer in Deebo Samuels going forward. And I've already mentioned Jamar Chase, so I'm high on him regardless. And I don't know what to make of Mike Williams, and that I don't know if I want to call him a champ. I don't know if I want to call him a chump. Mike Williams, he always seems to have those fleeting games. I just see Keenan Allen taking back over at some point, just like this ebb and flow, of who his target's going to be. So I don't even know what to make about him. Go ahead. You were going to share something, Nick? Go ahead.
No, I was going to pick him to be my chump, because with his history, the bottom's going to fall out at some point. And like Greg said last night, for all those that listen to the show, they always had a tight end to offset. Now it's just Keenan Allen. Now Mike Williams has got to be the second guy. And their tight end is Jared Cook. Last year it was Hunter Henry. So they need to rely more on Mike Williams to get those deep passes, and of course flip it off to Eckler. But we'll wait and see. Just right after the wheels fall off. I mean, what do you get? I mean, he's producing. You got to leave him in there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you got to get a receiver in one of these prolific offenses, and just see what happens. Right now, Mike Williams the guy, so you're going to start him every week, and let's see what happens. All right, let's go to the tight ends. We'll talk our champ or chump with tight ends. Travis Kelsey, number 1, 46.9. Gronk at 2 at 42.4. TJ Hawkinson, 41.3. Darren Waller, number 4, 28.4. Dalton Schultz, number 5, 26.3. Knox, I talked about him the other day. I keep seeing him. There he is. I mean, he's right there in your top 10. Number 6. Number 7, Logan Thomas, 21.7. George Kittle at number 8, 19.6. Goddard, 19.2. And Conklin at number 10 at 18.6. All right, champ out of this group.
I'm going to go with Gronk. And the reason why I'm going to go with Gronk is because this year was the year where O.J. Howard was supposed to step up and take over the starting role, and Gronk was to take a step backward. That's what all the reports were coming out of Tampa, and it's just been the reverse. Gronk has been Gronk. He retirement. I didn't want to come back, and all right, I won a Super Bowl. Okay, now I'll come back again. And him and Brady are just doing the same old thing. So I'm going to have him as my champ because he's consistent. He's always consistent, always a target for Tom Brady, and he's always got a nose for the end zone. So even if he's got 2 catches, they could be 2 catches for 6 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, indeed. How about a chump out of the group?
Oh, I'm going to have to go with George Kittle. George Kittle is a big name. Past couple seasons, his production has been deteriorating. Right now, we said earlier, he's a 20-20 guy. He hasn't been really touchdown dependent. So he's good for PPR. For PPR, he's good. But as far as for overall scoring and getting in the end zone, you better look elsewhere because he's not your guy, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, listen to TSS Fantasy. We warned you. It's a touchdown dependent guy. If he's not getting, that's not helping you. My champ out of this group, listen, is Dalton Schultz. Every year there's a guy that comes out of the nowhere, woodworks, especially in the tight end position. I think Dalton Schultz is going to be our guy this year in an offense that loves to throw the football and they love the tight end. He's starting to show it now. You already have great receivers on the outside. You can't guard everywhere. So Dalton Schultz seems to be my champ. Also Knox as well. Like I said, I just wanted to bring all these guys up. Conklin also just another guy that now he's in the same situation as Schultz in an offense that's throwing down the field. You got 2 good receivers. You can't guard everywhere. So that leaves the tight end. So I would definitely be targeting these guys if you have a Gesicki. If you're a Gesicki owner, I'm a Gesicki owner. So I'm looking out for these guys now, these are some of these guys I'd be keying up, especially right here in the waiver wire coming out, which you'll probably be hearing this tomorrow, so it'll be a little too late for that. And my champ out of this group is TJ Hawkinson. Watching that Lions offense, even though it wasn't all great this particular weekend, but even still, he sets himself apart in that offense. He just looks different than the other guys. So I like TJ Hawkinson a lot going forward this season. All right, champ or chump for our defense is number 1, Saints with 41 points. Cardinals at 38. Broncos at number 3 at 36. Bills at number 4 at 32. Panthers at 5 at 29. Cowboys, surprise, number 6 with 27 points. Patriots also tied basically with them. They have 27 points as well. Bears at 8 with 25. Bengals, number 9. And Colts and Browns tied with 10 at 22. Give me a champ out of this group, Nick.
I like a couple, but I don't want to take them all. So I'm going to go with the number 5 Carolina Panthers because as we were talking earlier in the season, preseason rather, we couldn't name a guy on the team, on the defensive team, let alone on the offensive side besides McCaffrey and Darnold. And they've just been solid. Matt Rule has got this defensive squad on point. The past 3 games, they've been lights out. I still can't name a guy on their defense, but it doesn't matter. They might be the no-name defense 2.0 because they go in. It's a business trip for them. They go in, they take care of business, and they give Darnold the ball and say, there you go. Go do something with it. And then that's it. They're done. So they would be my champ.
Yeah, agreed. How about a chump out of this group?
Oh, I would say a chump out of this group. Oh, you know what? To be honest with me, I don't have one. I do not have a chump out of this group because Saints are doing the job. Obviously, they're number one. The surprise team is the Cardinals. The Broncos are solid. So I personally do not see a chump defense. The only one I would pick would be Dallas because they had a big game against Philadelphia. And unless you're the Falcons, you're going to have a big game against Philadelphia. Right now, they're not doing anything against any other ranked teams. They don't beat teams that have a winning record yet. So they win all their games against teams that have 9 wins or less. So right now, they would be my chump if I had to pick one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Broncos, man, they're looking solid this year, and the surprise for me are the Bengals. And listen, with a juicy matchup against the Jaguars this week at home on a Thursday night, might be somebody might want to stick in and play because they are already up there and now have a good matchup to boot. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back. We're going to talk about our rankings are out. So go to tssfantasy.com. You can check out our rankings, but we're going to talk about them when we come back in 1 second.
Hey, TSS family. This is Flanders here again. And I want to ask you, do you want to learn how to defend yourself, become more confident, and be more fit? I think you do. That's why I recommend John Emmons Taekwondo in Kissimmee, Florida. At this dojo, you will learn an old art for a modern age under the tutelage of an 8th degree black belt master John Emmons. If you want the martial arts to be part of your life and you value hard work with high quality results at reasonable prices, then John Emmons Taekwondo is the place for you. They can be found at evanstaekwondo.com, and you can call them at 407-931-1118. John Emmons Taekwondo is our #1 pick for self-defense, and we are the fantasy show of the people.
Chia! All right, so let's go over, obviously a lot of rankings to talk about. We'll go more in depth on Friday, but since, I've just put some of I put my top 10 up. I didn't have time to put your top 10 up. So basically, here's our top 10 here with quarterbacks. What I want to hear from you, instead of just reading off the list, everyone, give me a sleeper this week for your quarterbacks and your quarterback rankings.
My sleeper this week is going to be Matt Ryan. Now, he doesn't sound like a traditional sexy name sleeper, but here's the thing. He hasn't been playing that well this season, all right? He's only averaged about 19, 20 points if I can think of offhand. So, and Washington's defense has been, to this point, as you and I had spoken, has been overbuilt. So they're not performing very well either. So he kind of got right last week against the Giants. I think he really turns it on this week against Washington. Call me crazy, but he would be my sleeper of the week.
All right. I'll call you a lot of things, but crazy is not one of them. Our new co-host, we can call crazy, though. Let's welcome to the studio, Fred the Jester Reyes.
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
All right, I'm glad you at least joined the last few minutes of the program. So we're talking about quarterbacks. The rankings are out. So I was just asking Nick a sleeper for this week, week 4, out of your quarterback rankings this week. Anyone that's not on the normal radar you think that might show out this week?
I don't think Jalen Hurts is on the normal radar, but I think he has a good week this week. When you play Kansas City, you have to throw the ball, and Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball. The running game's going to be okay, but you got to match Patrick Mahomes for pass to win. I don't care that their record is 1-2. You have to match their offense, and I think they're going to be a little bit mad that they lost that game, and I believe they're going to come throwing the ball, and I think Jalen Hurts has to match it, so he's going to score big.
Yeah, that's what happens when you come late. Just so you know, Jalen Hurts is the number 4 fantasy quarterback, so he's not a surprise at all.
I
But
think he's a sleeper.
and Kansas City's defense is the worst in the league, so it's not quite a sleeper. Especially in our rankings, we have him this week up pretty high as well. So he's number 6 on the rankings this week. All right. So anyway, we'll move on. Let's go to running backs. Guys, give me a sleeper. Nick, I know Freddie ain't ready yet. So, Nick, you give me a sleeper out of your running backs this week. Somebody you like that's just kind of off the radar.
Well, I like him, but he's not exactly off the radar. Freddie and I have been talking about him. I really like Zach Moss. I think he's going to take over that starting role up in Buffalo. He's doing the job, whether he's receiving or whether he's running the ball. I think he's got maybe 5 total touchdowns this season, and he's going to take that ball from Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary is the main rusher, but I think eventually as the season progresses, Zach Moss is going to be the guy because he's more versatile in that offense.
Yeah, agreed. Mike's actually brought him up too quite often. The only thing, though, that I caution about Zach Moss is they just don't run the football a lot in Buffalo, and they do it through Allen. That's just my only thing with them. Really quick, I forgot to mention my sleeper quarterback because I was trying to chastise Freddie too much to mention it. But somebody a little off the radar this week that you might want to look at is Jameis Winston in his matchup against the New York Football Giants with no defense. I like Jameis Winston this week as my sleeper. All right, Fred, give me your sleeper running back this week.
Jesus, I don't even know what to pick. I was going to say Joe Mixon, but you probably got him high already.
No. All
right,
I have in mind, but it's okay. Go ahead. You go ahead.
I think I was going to go with Joe Mixon. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. We told him don't start him for 2 weeks. This week, I believe you start him. He's playing the Jags, isn't he right? Is that right?
Joe Mixon?
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
Yeah, they the Jaguars. I think they win the game decisively if they run the ball. I mean, hey, it's cool to throw the ball around the field, but you want to win the game against the Jags, run the ball.
Yeah. My sleeper is Miles Sanders because we just talked about them giving him 2 carries. Listen, I mean, we're not the only people saying, hey, you can't win football games giving a guy the ball 2 times. So obviously they're going to come in and overcompensate. I think they're going to give the ball a lot to Miles Sanders this game too. So I see, again, you're playing against the worst defense in the league. I like Jalen Hurts, and I like Miles Sanders in this game too. He could be a little sleeper for you this week at the running back position. All right, receivers. Talk about them real quick. I'll just throw up the top 10. We'll start with you, Fred. Give me a receiver that is not, somebody off the radar that could be a sleeper this week.
This week, Fred. Let's see. I don't really know about a sleeper this week because everybody I've been picking is playing good. Damn.
So I think we can just mark this down as unprepared.
Dumbass. Thank these. Dumbass. Play kind stupid.
Nick, give me a sleeper at the wide receiver position, please.
I am going to go with Hunter Renfrow from the Las Vegas Raiders because he always seems to be in the right spot at the right time. He caught 2 touchdowns last week. They call him second in Renfrow, third in Renfrow. So whenever they need a big play, he's their go-to guy, and he's established himself as the second receiver in that receiving core out there in Vegas. And it just seems like he's got a special connection with Derek Carr.
You know who I like this week? It's not really a sleeper, I guess, but it kind of really is because he hasn't been, doing all that great. But Julio Jones this week with no AJ Brown, and they're playing the New York Jets. If you got somebody on Tennessee, get them in your lineup. All right, let's move on to the tight end position. Nick, we'll start with you. Give me a sleeper out of the tight ends this week.
Oh, I'm going to be a little sentimental tonight, and you're going to have to excuse me on that. I'm going to have to go with Zach Ertz. He had a good game against Dallas last week. I didn't expect much. He was one of my sits because of his hamstring issue, and then he was on the COVID, and he stepped up. He played really well. And again, just like Freddie said about 5 minutes ago, against Kansas City, you got to throw the ball. And it's just past couple of years, it's been evident that the offense, the passing offense anyway, runs through the tight ends in Philly. So he is going to be that second release target off the line, and Hurts is going to find him. So I'm going to go with a sleeper, Zach Ertz, and I think he scores 1 touchdown this week.
Yeah, well, we talked about it, just a second ago when we talked about the Monday night game. 7 targets, he, led the team in targets. So that's, good call there. Fred, do you have a sleeper tight end, or should I hit the dumbass now?
No, I do. It's Evan Ingram this week. We have to get the ball to the tight ends, Daniel Jones. No, it's not all your fault. We got Jason Garrett calling plays. I'm not a true Giants fan, but got to mix it up a little bit. Can't just throw to the wide receivers and Saquon. Got a big tight end at the end over there. Matter of fact, you got 2, him and Kyle Rudolph. Use your tight ends, guys. Add pass protection up front. Gives you 2 outlets for extra receivers. Use your tight ends.
My sleeper this week is Tyler Higbee. I mean, they're playing the Cardinals. They gonna have to keep up. Even though it's still the Rams, their defense is good, but this Cardinals offense is better. I hate to say it. In a pissing match, I think they're gonna outpiss them, if we'll put it in that perspective. So I like Higbee this week as a sleeper if you need someone to plug and play this week. All right, let's go on to the defenses. We'll throw the top 10 up there. Again, if you're listening to us, we just have the top 10 up, but go to tssfantasy.com. You can check out all the rankings there. We're just pulling out the sleepers in this particular episode, and we'll get more in depth on the rankings on Friday. So, Nick, give me a sleeper defense this week.
I think you might be calling me crazy by the end of the night. I'm going to pick Dallas. They had a big game. It was against Philadelphia, I know, but Diggs had a big game. Their defense stepped up. Micah Parsons, Penn Stater, he's just all over the field, and I'm not that sold yet on Carolina's offense, especially now that CMC is out. I'm not that sold on Chuba Hubbard yet, and the receivers just aren't showing up. DJ Moore's about the only guy that actually gets some targets. Robbie Anderson only had, 1 target last week? So I am going to go with them damn Dallas Cowboys.
That's a good call, Nick. I like that. Fred, who you got?
I got that little thing that you're about to put on me.
Oh, no.
Dumbass. Dang these. They call me dumbass. Black guy need stupid.
All right.
It's not fair. I got out of work.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how much time you tell them, hey, prep this, prep that, does not matter. Still come unprepared. My sleeper defense this week, somebody that, I want to say the Bengals because they really kind of are a sleeper. Titans also the same, playing the Jets. I mean, I know what normally you're not having the Titans on your roster, so I know you're going through a waiver wire if you got them this week. Broncos are interesting because they're such a good defense all the time, but do you expect them to play well against Baltimore though? That's another interesting. Yeah, go ahead. Fred.
Interesting. Fucking Detroit. Oh, no cursing. Detroit. They play the Bears and Matt Nagy, and he don't even know he's starting as quarterback yet. What is wrong with this guy? I don't understand it.
I was going to say, Detroit showed up against Baltimore, so apparently they're not too bad. Or Baltimore's offense is really one-dimensional.
Yeah, good point. And Fred, see, you weren't a dumbass. You could have put them as your sleeper, and we would have been fine. I don't know. I don't know if it's a sleeper or not, but I think FT has a get-back game this week. I mean, Atlanta's offense, let's face it, has struggled. It's not the Atlanta that we've known. I like them to get back this week. I think they're going to bounce back a little bit and kind of get back to what they were doing before last year made it successful. All right, let's take a quick break real quick. When we come back, we'll go over the Thursday night game, and we'll close it on out.
Hey TSS family, it's Commissioner Cooper, and when anyone on our crew has a special event or just needs to freshen up a bit, we go see our boys at Underground Cuts, located at 1005 West Oak Ridge Road, Suite 6 in Orlando, Florida. Give Rob a call today at 407-858-0880. Mention TSS Fantasy or do that annoying Jets chant and receive a free soda compliments of TSS Fantasy.
A sound nobody is making around the country. All right, Thursday night, we have an epic AFC matchup. The Cincinnati Bengals going against the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's not a lot of star power, if you will, in this game other than, listen, do you go Joe Burrow this week against the Jags? I mean, I don't know who. I can't think of many people I'd put Joe Burrow ahead of, to be honest. Like, even though it's the Jags, I like Jamar Chase to have a good game. I like Joe Mixon to have a good game. But that's what I think more is you're going to see more of the Joe Mixon good game this week before eventually he's going to injure himself pretty soon. We'll see him no more. So I like him. And again, the Bengals defense we talked about, Trevor Lawrence has been prone for mistakes. So at the end, they'd be a decent play this week. Who knows as far as the Jags receiver, Marvin Jones Jr., Chenault, who knows steps up for them. But eventually they may get some garbage time. But I think, like I said, I think the Bengals are more of that AFC North traditional team where they want to grind it out on you if they can. So I expect a big Joe Mixon game, more a defensive game for the Bengals in this one. Guys, we'll go with you, Nick. Anyone in this particular matchup that you're looking to get in your lineup, anyone big that you see have a big night in this one?
I would just go with the Bengals defense because it's a short week. They're home. Obviously, no travel. I'm wary against Joe Burrow. That offensive line is not good at all. But if you had to pick one player, I'd pick Jamar Chase because it seems like he's got the confidence back. He's got 11 catches for 220 yards and 4 TDs. So he's doing something right. So put him in your lineup, and I put Bengals defense.
Yeah, apparently he doesn't need the stripes on the ball anymore. Fred, anyone in this matchup you're looking to get in your lineup?
I think you got to start James Robinson. I heard he's going to get more touches. If they're going to grind and pound it out, you got to do the same thing with James Robinson. He had a good game last week, so I would definitely start him this week.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to if he's in your lineup, you're more likely to have to start him anyway. So yeah, I definitely can see him being started as well. So for the Jags, so again, it's kind of a crapshoot on their receivers, but we'll see. Hopefully, it'll be an interesting game nonetheless. I'd like to see Trevor Lawrence break out a little bit, see a little offense, and maybe Joe Burrow and him kind of go back and forth. Maybe we'll see a new rivalry emerge. Who knows? All right, so. We'll close it on out. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. Again, check us out, tssfantasy.com. All our rankings are up, so you can go right away and check it all out. And if you have any lineup questions or any ranking questions, feel free to email us or to reach out to us on any of our social media websites. We appreciate you, and we are out.
Do, do, do.